Welcome to the Some Laugh podcast.
It could be like, oh, that was some laugh, or there was just some laughs.
Some laughs.
Well, no promising all laugh.
No, there's going to be some.
It's some laugh. Well, thank you for joining us, guys. So this week, slightly different episode. We're recording in Monkey Barrel Studios in Edinburgh, and as we are in Edinburgh, it's only appropriate that I am joined by two English guys.
Wow.
Guest host, returning guest.
I think
Liam
fourth
Withnail.
appearance, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe fifth? Fourth
Listen,
or fifth?
friend of the show.
Wow.
And
Wow.
friend of the show making his first appearance is, a long time coming for Stuart Murphy.
Hello there. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, great. It's
I've been
great.
looking forward to this.
Yeah, man, me too. So, do you know, have I told you this, Stu, that you hosted my second ever gig?
Really?
And there's two things I remember about that night.
Yeah.
One was, so I'd done the stand Glasgow before and I got some laughs, and then it was Valentine's night. I wasn't even going to go and do it because I'm like, well, I've done it once.
Sure.
They won't even remember if I don't turn it. They don't know who I am, anything like that. And I just went and done it anyway. I came off stage and it went well enough again. I'd got a few laughs, and I remember saying to you, like, what happens now? Because I'm like, where's the road show? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
And you were just like, you just need to go into like pubs and stuff. And I was like, I'm like, the girl that dumped me and my friends from school, and I'm going to think I'm cool if I'm doing the fucking shit pub.
Oh, yeah, it's all glory from here on in. Once you do the Valentine's special at the stand, man.
Your second gig was the Valentine's
No,
special?
it was just a Red Raw, but it just happened to be on
right,
Valentine's
okay.
Day.
Valentine's, so they make it up as a Valentine's Day special.
Right.
I always get booked for Valentine's Day gigs because they always think, who's going to be available? Who's not going to be?
But this must have been because
on a
I
date
remember so this will be going back before you started. But when I was first around, Stu wasn't a host,
No.
or a stand-up. Stu was just an improv guy. It was
Just
just Stu and Gary.
Just.
And then Stu started hosting, and it was like, oh yeah, that makes sense because he is an improviser.
Well, you were hosting Red Raw at the time, so they must have been trying you.
I reckon it was early on,
it was
early
lab
days.
work.
Yeah.
Lab work.
Which is funny because the other thing I remember about that night involving you is that you like walked by and like backstage at one point to like maybe go on stage, and somebody else in the green room, must have just been another open spot, was like, he used to be the head of commissioning at Sky Comedy. And the reason I think they did, because I think I looked it up then or soon after, and there was a guy whose name was Stuart Murphy.
Yeah, there's another one who's a children's author as well. And I like to contend that I've been all three of those things.
But in my mind, because you don't know what it's like, and don't know, it would
You're
have been
like, wow.
possible
You
for
know
me
what,
at the time. So for ages, I thought you were the head of commissioning.
I'm all about commissioning comedy at a massive national televisual level. But after a while, I got bored of it. And I just wanted to do Monday night Valentine's open mic gigs. So,
Stu, do you really host Red Raw much these days?
I do every now and again, yeah.
Stu, I
Not
used
as
to
much
love
as
it
I
when
used
Stu
to.
would host.
You're a
because
very funny
he was
person,
savage.
people down, yeah.
You don't really get it. I mean, the industry's changed a bit, and I think there is a general much nicer approach to like newer acts and stuff. But when you were first hosting, Stu, I used to say such horrible things about acts that I remember you used to come on after an act had been crap and go, "Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was only 5 minutes."
Yeah, that's true. I would do that kind of thing, and still occasionally do. The problem being that with Red Raw, they've booked me to do, or the beginners' nights in general, they're all of standard.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got to wait for a while to get on the stand Red Raw, so you do the gigs before up. They're not as naive and sort of plucky as they used to be.
Yeah.
Back in our day, now they prepare and they've got time to do gigs and bed in a good
The
5
nutters
minutes.
Some of them, though, you do get another that'll just still turn up.
Occasionally,
Which is why
yeah.
I love hosting the free-for-alls here.
Yes.
Because that's just like,
That's
they've
not
opened
central.
the doors to the mental asylum, they've opened the doors to the Monkey Barrel, and they gibber across the road and just land. And for those of you who don't know, Free for All, a Monkey Barrel comedy, every other Monday, couldn't do it every week, there'd be deaths. It's just like everyone who puts their name in the barrel can do it. So you've got two hosts that night, as you well know. It's split first half and second half. And I end up very into the second half, and sometimes it's like 40 comedians on the night.
That's far too many.
Everyone does 5 minutes guaranteed, no longer. You get played off if you go over. But by the time I'm on host, there's so dregs on that stage. And so I can go back to my natural hosting style of just going, Well, I hope his meds wear off quickly. And I
Because
do
the rest of
have
the audience are all the
tremendous
comics
fun.
that are worrying what you're going to say about them when they go up.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine because that should perk you up, get the blood pumping, and make you realise that comedy's not all laughs. If that's what I want anyone to think when they see me on stage, is that comedy's not all laughs.
Well, this podcast famously catchphrase is, it's not all laugh.
It's not.
Some laugh.
It's some laugh. Not all laughs. You can't eat just candy floss.
This is it.
You've got to have some vegetables in there. And the vegetables are at free for all, I guarantee you of that.
Stu is one of the few acts who I will, if I'm on a weekend with, I will always make the effort to go out the green room and watch because he does fuck around so much.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
The ad libs and the sometimes the first 5-10 minutes of his set is just riffing on what has happened so far in the show.
Which is interesting, right? Because the thing I remember thinking, Stu, and I suppose I probably didn't realise that you like weren't always hosting stand-up nights. Because you, I don't know if you still do, but you kind of used to have a bit of a kind of, you had like a comparing set almost. Is that fair to say?
Sort of. I'd take bits from my stand-up and sort of compare around those bits.
Yeah, because I was always surprised a wee bit by it was a bit more structured with that because you are from an improv background. I just thought, just got making the whole thing up all the time.
Sometimes that would happen depending on the audience or what had been going on in the crowd before we go on.
Yeah. So what, so obviously, like, as Liam had mentioned, so you and Gary started doing improv, like, and I mean, like, how did you start doing that, and like, what year was it you started?
Oh Christ, 1993.
Wow.
The Jews had left Egypt for the Promised Land.
I was like, where the fuck is this going?
Christ was yet to be born, and last century, I started doing improv in Edinburgh at the Bedlam Theatre.
The Improverts.
The Improverts, Improvegetables as we were then. We were plucky. We were spit and polish.
It's got a rich history, the Improverts. I mean, Maria Bamford was part of it.
Maria Bamford was part of it.
Yeah.
Miles
she did in
Jupp's been
Edinburgh?
part of it. Ewan McIntosh from The Office, God bless him.
Was the Edinburgh University student improv group, so I imagine she must have been here for a university.
I think she was here for about a year.
a master's then or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she did it with Gary for a while. She was in the group. And then he went off to America to make a film. And that's when I arrived. And so by the time he got back, I'd been there for a year.
And he's like, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Yeah. And I was going, I bet it's me. And the friendship grew from there, as with a few other people. We kept it going. The Bedlam Improverts should have died out after a couple of years. But we just kept at it and bringing new people in and getting it to be a regenerating thing. And it's still going now. And I saw some of them perform for the first time in years over the road at the Monkey Barrel just a couple of weeks ago. And
For the listeners, Stu made a face that suggested it was not good.
They're young, Stu. I mean, maybe if you were to watch your young self at 1993, you would have that same face.
Exactly.
First of all, I'll be on my knees applauding.
On your knees applauding?
Yeah, because I'd be battered down by the weight of talent. Do you know what? I don't. It's just the three of us talking. I can say this, but they. There was only three of them on stage, and they're obviously not used to doing it out with the Bedlam because it's very different, as you'll know. Very different from doing it in front of a normal audience who have jobs and have paid money than it is to do it in front of a student audience.
Presumably lots of your friends and...
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And so the three of them went on stage, and the first game they played was Alphabet, and they got a letter to start on, which was Z. And the first sentence of the scene was, "Can I help you?" And the second sentence was, "Go on, then I'll see if I can help you." I was just, well, okay. So the rules of Alphabet.
So the purpose of Alphabet is you have to answer you have to say the next line with the next letter of the
beginning
alphabet.
with the next letter of the alphabet. Can I help you? Do you want my help? everybody's at CDE, that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, and they just didn't know their alphabet.
They just didn't have that. They were nervous, bless them.
You'd expect more from Edinburgh University students.
Clearly not. They're clearly not studying English. That's for fucking sure.
yeah.
But it's still going. It's giving people something to do.
I did
And it's
some because
fun.
I don't know if they still run this, but they used to have free improv classes on
Yeah.
like a Sunday afternoon at like midday or something.
Yeah.
And so when I was a student, I went along to that before I did stand up because
aye.
I had an interest in comedy and
I didn't
theatre
ask them,
and
but I
all
hope they still do. That was kind of the ethos we would.
Yeah,
build
it was
the show
great.
on.
So I went along, and that is where I first met MC Hammersmith.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Before
there.
he'd done any
Previous guest of the
stand up,
pod.
Katia Kavinga,
Sure.
and one or two other people who have like.
There's
you
been
know,
a few that's gone through the doors.
How did you end up as a double act? Though I feel like that was a very kind of 90s thing. You don't get a lot of double acts these days, do you?
Well, there weren't that many when we've been at the Improv for a while. There weren't that many clubs going. The Stand was just a night in a pub, and the Monkey Barrel was a madman's dream. But what happened was, so there were a few of us from the Edinburgh who wanted to pursue comedy outside of the once-a-week shows at the Bedlam. And so we thought, well, we'll do a comedy night at pubs around the corner sort of thing and do our stand-up. We'll book us.
Yeah.
Because there was only a couple of people, there was Raymond Mearns in Glasgow, Susan Morrison in Edinburgh, Vlad McTavish in Edinburgh, and a few others. And so other people had started their comedy nights as well. It was very much the nascent Edinburgh comedy scene.
Yeah.
And so it was really smart. And so we developed as the Stand became a venue, as one of the shows, there was a couple of other people did a 2-person improv show for free. And they were from the Improverts as well. And as they left, I stepped in, and then the other guy went, and Gary stepped in. And we've been doing it ever since.
Wow.
And that really helped with my comparing, because when the people haven't paid to come and see you, that I felt gave me license to treat them like absolute garbage if I wanted. and so I would go on every Sunday at 1:30. We'd start. The prescribed finish time was 3. This was sometimes the case. This was often not the case. But I would go on, and it was like Gary would be standing there like a lemon for about 15 to 20 minutes as I just rattled on and talked to people, found out where they were from, told them about my week, what I was angry about, that kind of thing. And that was good fun. Week after week, you get people coming back.
Yeah, I used to love coming on a Sunday. It was
Yeah,
like a
I
very
used to,
good
yeah.
a hangover. You'd go, you'd get your nachos. Me and do you remember Adam Mitchell?
Yes.
I
yes,
used to
do.
go with him sometimes on a Sunday. He was like a university comic.
Yeah.
And we would sometimes go and yeah, it was free. And so when you wanted to be a stand-up, it was like great thing to go and watch and
Exactly. It was all about getting that. It still is my stage, the Edinburgh Stand. It's my stage.
yeah.
So I go on there, and you're in my house now. Let's faff about.
Absolutely.
And it's just because I've put in the years doing that. But when we first started out, there was, people would go, free show, middle of the afternoon. I don't think so. But then people would be looking for different stuff to do. And so we got a lot of people bringing in people from institutes of care.
Okay.
And it's just like, this is a day trip for you. And you'd see these people wildly applauding when we said hello. They're just dribbling everywhere. And they were lovely. They were lovely. But one of them, after the show, intensely hugged me for quite a long time because he'd had an argument with someone outside, and then he went home and stabbed him.
Oh.
Yes.
Right, okay.
This was not due to my comedy. I want to make that absolutely
Well,
I
you
don't-
can't
never
be
know.
that clear about
You
that.
never know.
Yeah.
Influence is, is a wonderful thing.
Other people have come to the show and met their beloveds at the show.
Yeah.
And
Not
have
interested
since-
in that. So this guy
Yeah.
stabbed someone after watching Stu and Gary.
That's right.
How
That's right.
did you find this out?
Because his carer told us. They stopped coming, obviously. He got taken to a more secure institution.
Yeah, yeah.
Where they weren't allowed improv.
Yeah.
And,
It's certainly not free improv.
and I got yeah, you got to pay for your non-stabby improv.
It was less yes and more no you can. Certainly not.
yeah.
What the fuck are you looking at? In fact, that was one of the games we used to play, the endowment. One person would go off and you'd have to get 3 things from the audience, and they'd come in and have to guess what they are to much hilarity. And one of them was the You and Whose Army endowment, which is like, Who the fuck do you think you are? What are you looking at? What's your fucking problem? That was what we got from the audience. Maybe it was that we played that day. He just lost his mind and went off.
See all these improv games and stuff. Did you ever come up with any of your own over the years? And because like it must like. Obviously, the thing with improv is it's like, you know, it's all made up in the spot and all that sort of thing. But what goes into, like, is there a lot of rehearsal and all that goes into to just learning and getting good at the games and finding, is it all about finding patterns or understanding the rules of a game?
Well, the thing is that the stuff I was doing with Gary and in the clubs, people have paid, like I say, real money, and they want their money's worth. So our sets were designed. So we do a 25-minute set, say. We're headlining the stand or whatever, and we would do an alphabet, we'd do a half-life, which is we do a scene that lasts a minute, then again in 30 seconds, then 15 seconds, 7 seconds, 3 seconds, 1 second.
Yeah.
And then we finish on a should have said, where we do a scene, and at any point people can shout out should have said, and we have to change the last line of dialogue.
Yeah.
Which the audience would applaud like we'd discovered fire. Right?
Should have said.
Exactly. You got it, right? But
Discover the wheel.
everything through trial and error over the years of doing gigs at the clubs and out with the clubs as well, we would preface it by basically going, I'm Stu, he's Gary, this is what we do. We will show you how we end a scene. We'll get you to not be afraid to shout out, and here are the rules for the scene. Every one of those bits was regimented because it explained it so everyone can understand it in a funny way and in the minimum amount of time possible.
Yeah.
So that was very much scripted. Everything we did in the games was completely off the top of our heads.
Yeah.
Now, the stuff you would do at the Bedlam and at these groups, we used to do stuff that was just like, because it was student audiences, it was easier. So we would just have more freedom to mess about and get it wrong. So we would have a menu of games, of about 10 to 12 games of various styles that we would play. And I remember one time when I was hosting, I said, well, we're not doing this. We're doing a different menu. And I put on a menu which had alphabet to start on, because that's always a good opener. Should have said to finish. That's a great finishing game. Mm-hmm. But every other game in the middle was just a nonsensical word or phrase. And the person I selected to play the game would have to go on and just off the top of my head explain what the game was and do it. So we had things like cheese drive, mouse thieves, with a hypo in my neck. Stuff like Pope in a Crisis. I still don't know what any of these games are. But,
Pope in a Crisis is an accurate description of...
yeah, that's it. I remember the...
World news today.
Well, I think it was Ewan McIntosh used to be in the office. He was... he got picked to play Pope in a Crisis. And he just went, look, and he's like, smoking away, going, what the fuck am I going to do about these Jews? That was... the very short scene. You know, it was a long time ago. We didn't know what we know now. But no, it was great. It was invention.
Should have said.
Yeah, it was invention, and you could muck around. You could fail.
Because a lot of these improv games come from... I read a book in uni, Keith Johnston's book.
I have that book and I've never read it.
It's like a sort of... That's interesting that you've never read it, because it was like... It's like the Bible of improv.
Yeah, the one I've got in the house is Del Close's one, the Truth and Comedy, it's called.
I've not heard of that one.
But it just sums everything up. We're two fucking bookworms, nerds, doing all the theory, where the guy out there just
got to get
doing
out there
it.
And do it. I have a copy for some reason of Keith Johnson's Impro, and everyone I've ever met who's read it and adhered to everything they said has absolutely sucked at improv.
Oh, really?
So they've just not been the most successful, because you're not, like I say, you're not just doing it from a theatre exercise point of view. You've got to entertain a money-paying crowd.
And do you think then, so like just those, the amount of just, you know, the yards and like the amount of gigs you were doing, like at the Bedlam and the student gigs and all that, just that, and obviously the Sunday shows that they stand for years and years and years. Because I would say, and for people that have not seen you before, because like you are one of my favourite people to watch, and I used to always go to Monday Night Improv, because if comics are quite bad, stand-ups are bad for like deriding improv a lot. And look, it is, as you were even saying about going to see that, you know, the young folk, it can be bad when it's shit, but when it's good, it's great.
I hate watching improv.
Really?
I really despise watching improv.
There's
because
like a sort of like, there's like a, I hope you understand what I mean by this. There's an almost Christian element to it.
there's a sort of let's do the show right here.
It's camp counselor thing.
Everybody jump in,
And
join in. Look, everyone, I'm holding a log. Come feel my log.
Which there's
Join my delusion.
There's a cringe culty element to it. But like I always thought, what I loved about you and Gary is that your personalities came out through. So like you were improv, but also you were the grumpy one, and Gary was the sort of happy, silly one, and you had the straight man. You had the classic double act combo that came out in the scenes as well, and you weren't afraid to break character and fuck around with that.
Absolutely. The reason I can't bear watching improv generally is because 98% of the time, it's just bad. And the 2% of the time when I am enjoying it is because the people on stage are of the same sort of standard than I am. And I just want to be up there playing with them.
Yeah.
And so I'm sort of sat here going, oh, I would have done that a different way. But don't get me wrong, I love doing it. And it's a lot of fun to do. And it's a great place to learn some skills and to get over any sort of stage fright or apprehension you have about getting up in front of people.
Aye.
And you meet friends for life, sort of that kind of place.
Absolutely. Well, you've often got, there's been a few times, I used to go to the Monday night one in Glasgow all the time, and you were my favourite, Stu, to be honest, and like you would always have, that sometimes what would happen is you would hit out with a real cracker of a line, like a proper gag off the bat, and sometimes it just doesn't get the laugh it deserves, though, because it's and this is a thing that I've read in the scene sometimes, like in these books. It's like it's more about the scene than the gag.
Oh, absolutely.
And it talks about stand-ups being like salesmen, but in the thing you're having to build the whole fucking world and all this sort of stuff.
When I do the Harry Potter improv, that's certainly what it's like. I will, of course, still make gags because can't help myself.
Yeah, long form improv is really interesting though. When you see some of those shows that are like, oh, it's not just games, but it's like an hour and there is somehow a plot and like the machinations of making that work is like, it's ruined the second time you see the show a lot of the time because you go, oh, that's how they fucking did it. But first time you watch an hour long improv show, you're like, whoa, how have they done that?
Well, the basic thing for a plot in long form improv, let's say you're doing a 20-25 minute bit, is you have a problem, you find that problem, you try a solution, that solution fails, and so you try another solution, and that succeeds, end of scene. So that's a basic sort of story template you can try and fit stuff in. And you can mess around with that the more confident you are with it, which is what I like to do, especially if one of my jokes didn't work. I was like, you people are plebs. You don't deserve any of this.
But that would frustrate the life out of me though, because I'm like, that's the fucking line of the night, and they're just gonna go, huh. But it's like, I don't know what it was.
Treating the audience with disdain and the mention of long form Harry Potter improv does bring me on to one of my all-time favourite Stu Murphy moments.
Absolutely.
And that is where Stu got some mainstream national press coverage on the back of his behaviour at one of these Harry Potter shows. So quick context, what are the Harry Potter shows?
Harry Potter shows, I am part of a troupe called Spontaneous Potter, the Spontaneous Players, and with MC Hammersmith and a couple of other people who are very good. And we tour the country. We go to big sizey theatres, and we go on doing stories, Harry Potter and whatever the audience suggests out. We have a little vote to see which one the audience want to see.
Do they ever just name the books Philosopher's Stone?
Yeah, and then I deride them for being fucking idiots. Which, you stupid bastard. And then
it sells well though, doesn't it?
And then that little child cries to his parents.
Is that how old are the audience? Is that this is a lot of kids?
We have kid shows and we have adult shows.
Right.
And
but it's adults who are into Harry Potter, so it's adults in inverted commas.
Well, it's the rude Harry Potter shows.
Okay.
And we just always do the thing of, well, what's been in the news this week? That's what our suggestion will be, and 5 times out of 10 we're right. I mean, it's just like a Harry Potter and the Brexit, Harry Potter and Boris Johnson. We had that for so long.
Yeah,
like Harry Potter and the trade war and
exactly, Harry Potter and the tariffs. Yeah, and these people who shouted out just sitting there going, I'm so clever.
Yeah.
I'm so clever.
But yeah, it sells really well. I know you do like big tours, and then at the Edinburgh Festival, of course, you do big runs in increasingly bigger and bigger rooms.
Yes, we get people, and they come out from the woodwork. You get, because it's, in my generation, it was Star Wars. That was our big cultural uniting thing. And for their generation, it's Harry Potter. So you get people who are out. A lot of men have been dragged there by their girlfriends. You get a lot of people turning up, of course, at the children's show, wearing their cloaks with their wands and what have
scarves.
you. Their scarves.
It's like a
and loving
football
it.
game. It's crazy.
You get a lot of people who clearly don't leave the house very often.
Well, that brings us on very nicely to this article.
I'm fully aware of the article, even though it does not mention me by name.
And it doesn't have your picture either.
No,
but we know...
It is very much the perfect crime.
Okay, this is the Daily Mail, and this was 18th of May 2023. So, spontaneous Harry Potter show descends into chaos.
Descends into
As
chaos.
actor tells stunned audience to suck my balls.
That's right.
And boasts he hasn't even read J.K. Rowling's books.
That's right. That's absolutely
Suck my
true.
balls. When I read that, I just heard you saying "suck my balls," and I just laughed so much.
I'm so proud.
I'm going to read more of this article.
Please.
Can we say, Stu, can we clarify up top that you haven't read the Harry Potter
No,
books?
I've never read the books. I watched the films. I got about 20 minutes into the first film and thought, this is gash. But
So that's part of the show, isn't it? They
that's part of
say
the
he
charm.
hasn't read it, and
they,
it's all...
as the start of the show, they point out to the audience, and the kids especially love that I don't know anything. And so if I get stuff wrong, they're all just like, bah, you're so silly.
Surely by osmosis, you now do know a hell of a lot more about it than you'd
I
like.
honestly try and push most of it out of my head.
Do
I
you know the
name.
name of his best friend?
There's Harry, there's Ron, there's Hermione, there's the bad one. Oh God, his name has actually just left my Draco Malfoy.
Yeah.
You've got
Oh, it wasn't the
Hagrid,
bad one I was thinking you meant.
Professor Snape, because I can do a sort of Alan Rickman impersonation.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun because the voice always stays the same and Snape can do what he wants because he's just usually not involved in the main story. It's like, you go off and solve that, Harry Potter. I'm going to fight for the PLO or whatever. You know, it's just I'm going to play the slots at Caesar's Palace. Hooray, I've won. You know, stuff like that.
A Harry Potter show left audiences in shock.
Shock.
After-
I mean, the shock was palpable around the room. They were so shocked they could not move. And so how chaos descended on the motionless shock is something I still to this day cannot figure out.
After an actor admitted he had never...
An actor, the Daily Mail.
had never read the books and told viewers to suck, in quotation marks, suck my balls.
Suck my balls.
Harry
right.
Potter fan Victoria Flint and her boyfriend went to see Spontaneous Potter, an improvised comedy show based on the series, at
right.
Salisbury Arts Centre last week to celebrate her 42nd birthday.
42 years old in Salisbury. And by God, she was not expecting chaos nor shock.
Where were Putin's minions that day? That's what I'm saying. Fucking Salisbury, somebody needs poisoned.
Pulling my
They were
sleeves
getting
down
poisoned
before I
by your
opened any
pal.
door handles on that theatre, I tell you.
The pair had bought cloaks and wands for the performance,
and wands, brand new.
but said she was left appalled by the
Appalled.
content.
Shock led to appalledness.
Victoria said the audience gasped as one of the actors admitted he had never read the Harry Potter books or seen the films before telling them to suck my balls. It's the third time they've mentioned that. Almost as if this story is a bit thin. The spontaneous players...
I'll tell you what was thin there. It was the air in the room after the cumulative gasping. Some people gasped out, some people gasped in. I'm pretty sure
have you
that
ever
oxygen
actually-
thinness contributed to the general chaos of people sitting in rows.
Has there ever genuinely been a gasp when you've said that you've not read the books?
Yes. Yes, they have. And I absolutely love it. I play up to it, of course. Yes. Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is what this lady says here. The first thing the main character said when opening the show...
Main character.
How did that go down with MC Hammersmith?
Well, he wasn't there. He wasn't there.
yeah, that's
so
what Daddy's away.
I was hosting it.
Right,
I was
okay.
giving everyone a
The
lowdown.
one time that he lets you do that.
Yeah, exactly.
This
Yeah.
happens.
You gave me the wheel of the Titanic, and I ploughed into the iceberg at full speed.
The first thing that main character said when opening the show was, I have never watched a single Harry Potter film or read a single Harry Potter book.
That was not the first thing I said.
She said the actor then added, and you can suck my balls.
Yes, that's absolutely what I said. But I think what the Daily Mail is missing out on here, it is the way I said it.
Of course. You said, and you can suck my balls.
In the cold light of newsprint, it comes across as antagonistic.
Stu doesn't
One
really
might
like
even
my impression
say
of him.
shocking.
You don't. It's a very good.
It's a
impression.
very-
Can you see how you would say "suck my balls" then,
You
Stu?
can suck my balls.
Okay, and the viewers at home can decide how
decide
good
which one.
Liam's.
We'll make a supercut. Victoria said, I'm a bit disgusted and appalled by it, really.
She disgusted, shocked, and appalled about the chaos.
The comedians described their show as an entirely improvised wizarding comedy play based
Which it
on all
was.
these...
If she'd
based-
hung around, she'd have seen
A
it.
wizarding comedy play.
a wizarding comedy play. Let's see.
In
Is there
both senses of the word.
any more? She and her partner left the show early and
Yes.
have now asked Wiltshire Creative, who runs the Arts Centre, for refunds of their £20 tickets.
Yes. I bet they left early, immediately before the actual show started, to have the most angry, cape-wearing, tear-streaked sex of their short relationship.
Do you know what's great about this? Like, you see, if you just read this article, you would be under the impression that this was like some sort of Willy Wonka experience type of thing, where they've conned people into coming to a Harry Potter thing. But not only are they doing that, but you're so brazenly in their face coming in going, "I have not read Harry Potter.
Yes.
Suck my balls.
I'm paid to
Have
wear
your
this
ticket
cape.
money. You've all been conned."
I'm paid with your money, and now for the next half hour, I'm going to snort coke through the money you paid. Do you know what? This is right. It was, first of all, it was in a church that has been turned into a theatre. So I'm sitting on stage looking
Well,
at
you
the
should
audience.
have known there was a lot of ball sucking had gone on in that place before. Some points are sensitive subject.
Especially in clooks.
Yard. Yeah, but I talk about the Jews, and I'm
Talking
the
about
bad
Pope in
guy.
a crisis.
Wow. Looks like I picked the wrong religion for this podcast there. But all I can see above the heads of the audience is massive stained glass window of Christ suffering and what have you. I'm just going, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. But that's how we always used to start. It's because the audience is, well, I would never say suck my balls at the children's show. All right? Again.
What do you say at that?
It's like-
Suck my plums.
No, I say it's like a. Everyone gather around the humming walnut, children. What it was is the
kids, put on
I
your
would say,
blindfolds
and I
and-
have never read a Harry Potter book or seen a Harry Potter show, and that's more often than not they go boo, and I go, well, that's not very nice to treat a man who can't read, but big laughs either way.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
fun.
But I would say, well, I always say if the adults boo me as they did on this occasion, then I will say something along the lines of, like I give a shit, you fucking nerds. I can take any single one of you. Line up and suck my balls. Right? Fun,
It's
friendly,
such a funny opening game. It's like the first minute of the show. I love it.
respectful. And apparently, what was not in the papers was that I was talking to the staff afterwards. She and her boyfriend left. I didn't know that they'd left. They were clearly right at the back. And she was hammered. She was absolutely hammered and incredibly rude to the staff, which I don't brook anyone being rude to the staff wherever I play. And so, she stormed out, and rather than go to the complaint at the ticket office, she went to the papers pretty much
The
immediately.
Salisbury Journal. Woke up the next morning and went, the Salisbury Journal need to know.
Stop the press.
At what point do you did she do that on the way home? Is she still drunk or hung over in the morning? When did you do that?
I don't know.
What else does it say in the article? Was it in any more tidbits?
No more quotes from her. Just a very professional, press release retort from, I'm going to guess MC Hammersmith.
Yeah, pretty much.
We've headlined improv festivals, achieved a slew of 5-star reviews, and won a Scottish Comedy Award for the show. It's a critically acclaimed, unofficial Harry Potter parody show. It has been clearly labelled as a 16-plus parody show, which contains adult language. This is evident from reading the marketing blurb on our website and all third-party sites. The 16-plus age rating and adult language warning is made clear to all customers when purchasing tickets.
Where are
See
you
that?
at
You
the
smell
show?
that? You smell
Email
that?
Matthew, Chris Matthews at
Yeah.
mailonline.co.uk.
That's
Wiltshire
vindication
Creative.
in the air, mate.
Wiltshire-
Vindication I can smell.
Wiltshire Creative declined to comment.
That's right, because he was in bed. But
But
I
also-
remember that. I remember I was just at home and I got a message from you, probably over Twitter or something,
Yeah.
and it was a link to the tweet because someone had tweeted that article, and their message was just, "One shouldn't laugh." Oh yeah,
and
I
it
do
linked to
remember
the
now.
article. And that's the tweet that went big.
Oh.
And you forwarded that to me, and the message was, I can't believe you did this. I know it was you, or something like that.
So did you know at that point that it was in the news?
No idea.
I'm so pleased that
No, it was you that alerted me.
I alerted you.
And so I looked at the tweet, and I read the article. I was like, oh, and then I started getting messages, loads of people going, this was you, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course, because it didn't say
You.
Stu's name in it.
Hey, why does it
Stuart
not say your
McPherson
name?
from this very podcast was going, on reading the article, I'm putting £1 million on Stuart Murphy.
Of course. I mean, when you know of the Harry Potter players, and all of them, everyone that I've seen, are very funny and very good. But the second it was like, and then told the audience to suck my balls, I was like, that's a Stu Murphy move if I've ever seen one.
100%.
People have been saying to me, are you bringing out T-shirts with "Suck My Balls" written on them? I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I remember you saying that to me backstage at my second ever gig. Stu.
It's
Hey, do you want to play the Tuesday night, son? If anyone asks you to see the Humming Walnut, you say yes.
Yeah, I am still the commissioner of Sky Comedy. So yes, no, suck my
It's a
balls.
much bigger walnut when it's Sky Comedy. Yeah, but there was everyone laughed in the audience. Everyone loved it. If she got up and left, fair enough, but I didn't see it. So all of this descending into chaos, all of this shock and what have you is just absolute
just slow
rubbish.
news day, isn't it? Because that article as well, like, they've just picked it up from a local newspaper and just rehashed it. They're just trying to make content.
Exactly, and it's all designed to provoke. And I read the comment section in the Daily Mail. Jesus. And it is all people going, these people need to be force-fed their own diarrhea and stuff. And the tenor of all the comments, there's a couple of people going, well, actually, the article doesn't say that. But most of the comments are like, not like this country used to be, national service, blah, 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 blah. It's just making people angry over their cornflakes. That's exactly what it is.
That would have been a better line if you went, I've not read the Harry Potter books and you cannot eat your own diarrhea.
Well, the Fringe is coming up.
Aye.
I'll just say we've made some changes to it editorially, but maybe that's going to be
So is it going to be at the Edinburgh Festival this year?
Yes, it is.
Great.
We are cementing final details of venue and time and what have you. We are coming back for, I believe, a shorter than full month run,
Great.
which is fine. I really enjoyed doing the show, but you know what it's like here in August. I mean, the temperatures skyrocket to something like 21 degrees, which in Scotland is global warming in evidence. And getting on stage in a cloak with a proper cotton shirt on and jeans, just going,
Yeah, performing to adult babies.
yes, yeah,
Not a good
lovely.
environment for anyone to suck
Lovely
your balls,
people.
quite frankly.
Exactly.
Alright guys, Mark here with a reminder that I'm currently on tour doing my first ever stand-up tour of the UK and Ireland. This weekend I will be in Dundee and Perth. No Chukta left behind. Sorry if that's offensive to use, but the Dundee show, the early show is sold out, but there is a later show starting about 9:30 and there's still a few tickets remaining for that. And Perth Theatre, which has been selling like hotcakes, I must say. I did not realise how many farmers are fans of me, but there is still a few tickets remaining for the show at Perth Theatre there as well. Following weekend I'll be down south in the northwest of England in Liverpool, Manchester and Leeds. I'll also be in Newcastle at the end of the month before the Irish dates and some down south in Birmingham, Brighton and London later in the year, obviously in June basically. And also there are tickets available for the Edinburgh Festival now in August. I'm doing my show Bread and Circuses there as well, and Stephen Stew's shows are on sale as well for the Edinburgh Festival too. And keep your eyes peeled for upcoming news about some live show that we may have in the pipeline too. So hopefully see you on the road, guys. Maybe see you at the Fringe. And aside from that, enjoy the rest of the episode.
Are you doing a work in progress this year at the festival as well? You're working up
I
a
did a
new
work
show?
in progress last year, so even though I'm still progressing, it'll be the finished article by the time I do it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You just done your debut show like the year before last, wasn't it?
Year
In
before
Toronto,
last,
we were
I
in
did the debut show, yeah.
It's one of those interesting ones, isn't it? Where it's like Stu has been doing comedy
A stalwart of the comedy
Thank
scene.
you.
for
Thank you
30
very
years,
much.
but then only debuted officially 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What was that like as like a
Someone who's been doing it.
A rookie and a vet, to quote.
Absolutely. No, it was thrilling for me to do, because it was just a case of, right, I'm here now. I've got to do it. I've got to fill an hour. I mean, I had the material, but being on stage for an hour and try and engage people for that long. And my shows this year and that debut show have no particular theme. So I was just trying to say, can I hold the attention? Can I do it? And for the first time in a long time, I found it to be a real learning experience. I mean, I have sort of learned much greater respect. I mean, having seen friends and what have you like yourselves do their solo hours at the Fringe, I know what it's like from that position now, having done it myself, how hard it is.
In what sense did you find it hard?
Because I kept talking to people and doing the routines, and I just, for the first couple of shows, I couldn't stop myself from just automatically just turning to my right, where Gary usually stood, and then he'd talk for a couple of minutes, but there's no one there. So I've just gone, oh,
So
right.
you should have said to nobody.
Yeah, exactly. So
Good
anyway,
alphabet game and going, come on, Gary.
so
It's B.
that's it. I did have that thought of maybe I should just open with an alphabet game, but just do half the letters of the alphabet alternately. Afternoon. Come on then. Everybody. And just go on as if like only I could see and hear this improv partner.
We once done a sketch. We used to do a sketch show at the Stand, and Roscoe had a brilliant sketch
What was the
one
name
time.
of that?
Scram, it was called,
Scram,
just like an
that's
acronym
right,
of
yes.
names. But Roscoe had a really funny sketch, and it was like some gig where the Proclaimers had been booked, but one of them had died. So they were still doing all the songs, but he was just doing it. Wake up to you, like that was the whole thing. It was brilliant. It was really, really good.
Did he end the Fringe show with that?
I think he might have done
really
that,
funny,
but it was-
really,
it was
really funny.
See,
good.
that one day someone's going to do it, and that's going to be a brilliant Fringe act. I don't know if it'll last an hour, but you do a double act where one person has died, but the person who's died is the ventriloquist, and the person who's still alive is the doll. So you get a talented ventriloquist just sort of slumped for an hour there with rotted face makeup on, and the doll is just doing punchlines for an hour.
Well, I mean, you're working on a new show at the moment. It sounds like you've got it.
Quite
I
high
am.
concept.
It's called I Said Suck My Balls.
What is your new show called?
It's called Little Earthquakes.
Right, okay.
Because I have in my head, I made a deal with myself that I would do 3 of these solo shows. And I would call the first one Debut, was obvious, because I have a face swap app on my phone, and I'm determined to get my money's worth out of it. I don't like spending money on apps, but I've spent money on this one. So here we go. So the poster for that was my face transposed onto Bjork's debut album cover.
Oh,
I remember it. I remember being very confused by this.
I
image.
just thought that was a young
no
picture
shame.
of you.
Ah,
I genuinely did.
that's why you're my favourite.
I said, suck my balls.
balls for the goblins in the fjords. And then I've got Little Earthquakes, which is on Tori Amos's first album. And then the next one is probably going to be The Kick Inside, which is the Kate Bush one. That's the big one.
Right, okay. These are your
Because of
3.
the obvious physical resemblance.
Are these your 3 big albums?
No, not particularly. It's just that I like them. But like I say, I've got a face swap app and I'm getting my money's worth out.
It's interesting you said about like learning stuff about doing an hour at the Fringe and having an appreciation for like a renewed appreciation for stand-ups that do an hour. See, from the improv background, right, and like you know, like because I've done wee improv classes and stuff, and I've picked up wee performing things that you don't really get or ever hear when you just do stand-up and come up through that way.
Right.
Do you still watch stand-ups, and do you ever see like mistakes in their performance, or do you think there's ways that stand-ups could improve their general performance, you know, by doing improv, or are they not aware of stuff that they're not doing because they've not had that background?
That's a good question.
I honestly think most stand-ups would benefit from some kind of acting classes.
Yeah.
I think there are some stand-ups that just won't touch improv with a barge pole. They're just so scripted. I mean, look, I don't know, maybe he has done it, but Paul Sinha is a wonderful stand-up, but he has a script and he's sticking to it and he's powering through it, and the way he says it, the intonations, what have you, is pitch perfect. But I always look at when I'm on. I look at them and say, "Oh, they're saying that bit a bit too quickly." It's not so much the mechanics of the improv as the mechanics of the stand-up itself. What I have done since doing solo stand-up, more often than not, is I have this. I'm going through the routine, saying them out loud, but I have this little voice in my head going, "Slow down, step back, take a second." It's like a little director in my head that I never had with improv, because it's just wild and I can do whatever I like.
Yeah.
But with the stand-up, it just feels not regimented. That's the wrong word, but it feels like there's less freedom for me to take them on a wild journey that they may not want to go on.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily down to any restrictions put on me by the venue or the arena or what have you, but it's because I don't know, I'm not there yet as a stand-up to do that kind of thing, I don't feel.
Right.
I need to be able to, if I want to take them on a flight of fancy, I could, but if it doesn't work, I need to then just be able to have that stuff, the absolutely solid material that will make them forget that and bring them back into the fold.
Because it must be hard when you've got that ability to do that and take people on flights of fancy, and you could just barge into some big improvised bit in any hour show to resist that and stick to the scripted material.
I remember Billy Connolly once said that he doesn't write it down, his comedy. What he does is he goes out and performs it and then just adds a little bit to it each time.
Yeah.
So it's always different. Which is why, when we were saying before, sometimes I'll go on, if I'm comparing particularly, and refer to the night that's been happening, or what's that act was like. Because you can't go on after an act that's been terrible and say, what a fantastic act. Because then the audience realises you're not on
It's
their
always
side.
a tricky thing, that hosting, isn't it? Because you don't want to throw people under the bus, but sometimes you kind
You've got to be honest.
Yeah, and it's a delicate balance, especially when it's sometimes it's your mates.
Yeah.
It's easier when it's your mates, actually, because say if me and Mark were working together and Mark, for whatever reason, had a rough gig, I know Mark would not resent me for fucking saying, well, right now.
No.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Make
mean?
me laugh and cheer me up.
Yeah, but when it's someone you don't know, if it's someone you haven't met or something, or a newer act, you kind of think, oh, fuck,
And then they've got a vendetta, because sometimes you do remember when you're really trying your hardest and you're new and you're shit and you die in your arse, and then the fucking compere comes on and buries you after.
Suck my balls.
It's like you fucking hate them so much. But it's got to, but then as when you
let it
then
go.
do,
You got to let it go.
yeah, because that's your job, is to make the audience laugh.
That's it, and keep them on side. And Jesus, there's there've been some horrors. I mean, some comics will tell you there's nothing. It's cruel, but there's nothing better than watching a friend of yours die on stage.
Oh, absolutely. Seeing someone you know, seeing something that is good, that you know is good, struggle. First off, especially with the enormous talentness here now, it's a reminder that it does fucking happen to everyone, because you only really remember it happening to you.
To everyone.
But also just the glee when it's like a good mate and you go, oh fucking hell, I'm glad it's not me.
It's really good. And you feel for them, but at the same time it is that sort of rub it off, thank God. It could have been worse, could have been me.
Has anyone that you've if you have came on after and done a wee kind of line or slagged them off after they've died, has anyone ever took umbrage to that, or do you remember any particular ones that you've said or anything like that?
No, I don't.
But no one's ever come up and went, that was really out of order what you've done. Everyone else takes it as it's intended.
Too frightened.
Because
Jesse has somebody suck his balls.
Fear.
What was the classic one people used to do at Red Raw if someone died? Was they'd do their watch and they go, time of death? 8:38 or something. That was always brutal.
Yeah,
that was
tough.
I'll give you a couple ones. What was the one I've just thought of was going in my head? There was a comedian who was around for years. He hasn't done it for a long time, called Teddy.
Oh yeah.
He was very. I really liked Teddy. I had a lot of time for him. He was one who would just tell the audience, if the audience, he'd tell a punchline, the audience would be like, toughen the fuck up. All right, just for that, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And one night he went on stage at the Glasgow stand, it's sort of like bad drag, and did this. this screechy character called Marvin or something. And he was there for just 10 minutes or something like that. And he was doing this and no one was laughing and he was dying and we were all at the back going, this is brilliant. And he just like got to about 5 minutes in, he's going, okay, well, just 10 more minutes then and we'll see if it picks up. Absolutely loving it. But I have, gone on and after someone who's done awful and I've done a joke and it's got some more laughs and then do another one, it's got some more laughs. And then I've done another one, it's not got quite as many laughs. I will say, you fucking better pick up your game and laugh at the jokes, otherwise I'm bringing that person back on.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
Oh, what's the one Gus used to do in Aberdeen? You know that sad music from The Incredible Hulk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the Hulk walking away music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly the music you mean.
And he would come on and do like a charity appeal. And just go, sometimes comedians come on stage and they eat shit for 10 minutes. For just £2 a month, you can sponsor that act to never step on this stage again.
There was a free-for-all act. I cannot remember exactly the name of the song. Let's say it was Candle in the Wind, right? It wasn't, but let's say it was for the sake of the story. He went on and started singing Candle in the Wind midway through his act for the purposes of a punchline, and it didn't work until he stopped and he moved on to the next joke because you can't sing the whole of Candle in the Wind. Anyway, he went on, he finished his time, got some applause and left. And then I was hosting. I just wandered up, pulled up my phone out, played Candle in the Wind from Spotify in its entirety. It's like 5.5 minutes, whatever it was. Stopped it and then pulled out another it's John Fisher, ladies and gentlemen, and brought him on. That's always fun.
Poor John Fisher following that.
Because the young ones especially, they'll say, oh, you can't possibly do that. And then so you go on and do that. Mm-hmm. And then I say, oh, you can.
So he said that. He said you can't do that and you just then done it.
The possibilities of what you can do on that stage are wider than I possibly thought. Mm-hmm. And it's at that point they'll either think, yeah, this is too big for me. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Or they'll think, oh, okay, here we go.
Absolutely.
I'm going to make it.
It's interesting you say, like, because I do feel that's, it's good about seeing Fringe shows and stuff. Sometimes as you see somebody do something and you go, oh, I didn't even think of doing it that way. Or I didn't realise you could do that. But see, it's interesting that you talk about like the new people coming through new on those new act nights. Because earlier on you're talking about like the kind of the nascence of the Scottish comedy scene and stuff, and you've obviously seen it from then to where it is now and stuff. And like, what would I'd just be curious to hear a wee bit more about what it was like back then and stuff like that, and also just like what kind of changes you maybe seen and stuff. Because people just like, even when I started in the same, you'll be the same, Liam. It's like the stand was like this established thing, the rest of it, but people don't realise it.
And so you turn up with fresh. Like, I'm going to try comedy, and the stand is here. The Monkey Barrel is here as a ready-made club.
Aye.
That simply wasn't the case back then. You were a dressing room. You don't know how lucky you are, you
exactly,
kids.
Aye.
Stuff like that. The biggest change is the number of people doing stand-up, and the opportunities for people to try stuff out. Was I talking to Daniel Sloss the other day, and he was saying it was like he was testing out new material for his Fringe show, so he's doing Red Raws and stuff. But he's also saying, oh yeah, so there's the stand, there's the Monkey Barrel, there's these gigs going on, the Spandex and what have you, and Good Egg and Grass Market. You've got all this. So there's quite a few gigs around Edinburgh. Yeah. Oh, so there's no, it's not as desperate as it used to be. Everyone's not clawing for the stage time as it used to be.
Yeah.
But since then, it's always been a very supportive scene up here, and in terms of comics helping each other out.
And was it always like that back in the day?
Yes, yeah. Because there were no gigs unless it was, comics organising them.
Yeah.
So they made sure you got the money you were promised. They were getting stage time by either hosting it or headlining it or whatever. Uh-huh. And it would always be in the room of some pub somewhere. So I don't even know if the venue is still there. It was a place on the Grass Market called Stepping Stones, with a duo called Dallas and Packer. And they were very so much like a music hall is a bit TV variety type of
Right.
but with an adult edge. And they had some talent. So we were
Tell
going up
people
and
to suck
doing our
their balls.
improv, and there were comics starting around. Remember this comic? I still see him about the place every now and again. It made me laugh. A guy called Gordon Brunton. And he would go up and he would do pretty good material. He'd do 10, 15 minutes. And I just remember at the Stepping Stones venue, this man and this woman arrived late and sat down at the only seats that were left. It was just like right in the front. So he came along and sat down right in the middle of Gordon's set. He just went, don't worry, you've not missed anything. Oh, by the way, for an extra 10 quid, you could have got a better looking hooker.
Wow.
And everyone was like, that was completely uncalled for. But, you know, you got to applaud his own. So, but yeah, he could easily have been decked for saying that kind of thing. There was less of the code of conduct for audiences was less in place.
I was going to say it sounds probably like it does sound a bit more like the Wild West, and like not only would like in terms of the gigs and stuff like that, but also like it was probably before the kind of big TV boom of Michael McIntyre's Roadshow and all that. So I wonder if audiences knew what to even expect from like nights and all that as much as they do now.
Well, their vision of it was probably either the alternative comedy scene of the early 80s or the more traditional sort of comedy clubs of the sort of wheel tappers and shunters, working men's clubs types.
Aye.
I mean, I don't remember anyone ever taking to the stage in like a glittery jacket or anything like that to do stand-up. So there was that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it was in the sort of early 90s I started off. The prevailing quote of the time was, hey, comedy's the new rock and roll.
Yeah.
So that lent itself to a sort of punk ethos, spit and polish, let's do the show right here thing.
Aye.
That sort of caught on, and some of the enthusiasts who actually approached it with a bit of analytical involvement were like The Stand, who took the money they made from the club night and invested in an actual club and made it a hub, and that hub brought more people in. Why still people look at places like Monkey Barrel, places like The Stand. You'll see new acts will publicise, this is where I'm playing this month on Facebook or whatever. And they're big arrows pointing to 5 minutes at Red Raw, or 5 minutes at, Free for All or whatever.
Because it's not just a room in a pub or whatever.
It's something to aim for.
Yeah,
it is a major hurdle.
Yeah,
people headlining their first Red Raw, it takes a while to get there. It's a
a
watershed moment.
Yeah,
for
it's
them.
a big milestone thing.
But back then, it was like, wait a minute, we've got microphone. Oh, fantastic!
Aye.
Yeah, but we'll just turn the lights off. Yeah, there's no lights.
Yeah. So audience, they would have been smoking and stuff presumably as well.
Yeah,
and
smoking, as were the comics half the time.
Yeah. And like, did you find like their like general, like you said, etiquette, like in terms of like heckling and stuff, you don't really get that much of it these days. I would say it's kind of seen as like, you go into the stand, there's a big sign on the door saying "Do not heckle the acts."
Yeah, exactly.
But that presumably would have just been.
Well, the crowds in Scotland have, to a degree, always been kind of self-policing.
Yeah, okay.
They'll Joe Heenan.
Yeah.
He went on stage. This was at the Stand once. And there was some guy and his wife drunk giving him jip. And he's like, all right, mate, we're going to have the comedy night anyway. So, it was like, and then someone behind him was like, you two, shut the fuck up.
Aye.
I've paid to watch. I'm not listening to you. And they stood up and started squaring off. So their first couple got thrown out. The guy, all the time, Joe's just stood on stage, just going, "There's nothing I can do about this." And then he just turns to Joe and goes, "You're fucking funny. Crack on, son." Okay. On he went. I remember, one of the first, I was booked to do 10 minutes at this club, probably at Stepping Stones. And I ended up doing 35 minutes in a 10-minute slot because the LSD had kicked in.
For you or
for me?
Wow.
So I was just sort of standing there, and it went really well. Wow. Because I was just stream of consciousness.
This is a side you've never heard about, Stu.
Oh, it was a very different time.
Were you imagining Gary standing next to you then? You just thought he was there?
No, it was just me
Abraham
by
Lincoln.
myself. I was doing my routine about how snooker would be different if, the players were on different drugs.
And you did it on LSD. Wow.
It was insane. It was an absolute mistake, of course.
Yeah, I did that. I did in my very early days. I did a bump of ketamine before doing a gig once, which was incredibly stupid. Also,
What was that like?
I don't really remember, but I remember it was. I had to do 5 minutes, and I kind of autopiloted it, and then I bailed after I would say 3 minutes. But it was a music festival. It was kind of, it wasn't the official gig we were there to do. It was this other thing that was happening in a bar, and I just kind of did it a bit. I remember people laughing and just being like, right, that's enough. I need to fucking get out of here.
Because paranoia closed down. I think pretty much you guys must have done this at some point as well in your early days. Going, do you know what? I'm really funny when I'm drunk.
That was a big problem for me.
Yeah. I should really get hammered and then do it. We'll see. And you do it once.
And did people do that more back in the day, like with the rock and roll sort of thing? Would people be more steaming and going on like after taking shit and all that than they do now? Would you say?
I think probably more drink than drugs.
Yeah.
Because it's like that thing. You try it once, realise it's not you, and then you
don't really see anybody drink at gigs anymore. Acts, you very rarely. Whereas when I started, I mean, that was very common. People, you get paid in beer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh god, yeah.
Yeah, which you don't really see much these days.
Plus, there was something to be said for post gig with the people you were on the bill with. You'd have a drink afterwards when everyone else had gone, because the staff have relaxed, they're emptying out, and you're all in the same boat. They're all, love them, the audience, they're the normal people. Whereas we know what it's like to, oh, where are you? Oh, tomorrow I've got to hop in a car and travel 2.5 hours to Aberdeen.
Aye.
Do 10 minutes, then come back. We can all relate to that.
Yeah.
So the post gig drinks is not the same either, I would say.
No, and it's that. I guess it's different. Like for me, like I always felt coming through Edinburgh, there was a big, like sort of culture of that amongst you guys at the time, which has led to you stopping drinking, Liam. But it's but it was because I was in the car, I'd just like go. Sometimes hang about for a bit and then go.
Yeah.
But in Glasgow, there wasn't people wouldn't hang about as much. I guess it's just maybe just
the drinking culture's changed generally. It's obviously more expensive to drink out these days. It wasn't as expensive then in terms of proportion of your income.
Aye.
But also it was a case of, right, we can go out. When you're young and you're hungry, you want to be around stand-up as much as you can.
Totally.
So if you weren't on Red Raw, there's every chance you would go along to see it.
Yeah, I used to go along often. And
the room at the back of Red Raw is not, and Free For All and what have you, is quite often filled with comics.
Aye.
Whether they're on or not.
Yeah.
Because they just want us to, and there's the social element of it as well.
Did you ever do any gigs for Max Starr?
No, I didn't.
Did you not?
I never did.
You done one, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, did I tell you my story?
I can't remember that. Let's tell it again anyway if you haven't. I don't know if you told it in this.
I don't think I've told it on the pod. So I was doing. I met him once
for maybe explain for the listeners
so
who this guy is.
there was a famous promoter in Scotland, legendary promoter in Scotland, who he just had so many stories about him, and there'll be comics older than me who have many more to his name. I guess the reason you don't, Stu, is because you were doing mainly just improv during his peak.
But also, I studiously avoided doing gigs for him. Because of all the horror stories. So people would say, where are you this weekend? I'm doing a Max Starr gig. They come back with a 1,000-yard stare and a ring of necklace.
So he was a Jamiroquai tribute act.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
And he was Australian, but then someone found out he was actually born in Portsmouth, and people think he was just putting on the accent. And he
Jamiroquai tribute act, not the real thing.
Yeah, and he used to just tell these insane stories. He was just this like prolific, crazy liar. And so I did one gig for him, and it was Pitlochry. It was me and Bob Graham.
Yeah.
And we were in the car, and he told a few tall tales. He told me about...
he's done it all.
Yeah, a story about him having an orgy with some midgets and things like that, or stuff like that, right? And so we were just kind of like laughing along, going, yeah, whatever. And it was a monthly gig. And the next month, he had Ben Verth in the car with him. And again, the gig went fine and was normal, right? And on the way back...
Which is an event in itself for a Max Starr gig.
On the way back from this gig with Ben Verth, it was Ben Verth and Rick Molland, and he said to Ben, "Oh, you're a lot better behaved than the comedians who I had up here last month. I had that Liam Withnail and Bob Graham in the car." And I don't think Mac realised that me and Ben were mates. He thought there's just comedians you might have heard of. And Ben was like, "Well, what were Liam and Bob doing?" He said, on the way back, all the way back from Pitlochry to Edinburgh, Liam and Bob were getting off in the back of the car. They were in each other's pants. They were snogging the whole way back. It was really awkward.
Wow.
I was like, what?
Yeah. But you know what? You've stopped drinking since. It's fine. You're a different person.
I'm not. But listen, I'm an experimental guy. You
are.
I've
You've always been
I've
at the
had some
vanguard
crazy days,
of
but
car-based fiddling.
I would say Bob Graham not my type. No offense to Bob. Yeah, what a fucking mad lie to tell
I
about
know.
someone.
It's insane, isn't it? The worst. Do you know what? I studiously avoided because everyone would come back from those gigs going, "It was horrible. There was no microphone. Everyone hated me." So I never did them. But the worst gigs you ever get are when someone has seen you perform. Usually a young woman has seen you perform, and she just happens to be the events organizer for some company and thinks you'd be great at their company do. So it's corporate money, so it's a bit more of that. So you go, okay, and then you turn up and they just hate everything about you. She's the only one who's laughing at you. She's completely misjudged their sense of humour or what the night is about. One of those, me and Gary were hired to do, go to Dundee and do the Christmas party for a bunch of heavy industry workers.
Oh.
And so they all finished their last shift. They turned up at the bar. There was some white bread buffet food laid out for them, and they were getting cheap drink. And the guy on before us was just an acoustic guitar player. It's in this nightclub, so there's just everyone sitting about. There's a huge dance floor with no one on it, and then just the guy plays. Anyone want to come up and give me a request? That's fine. And he just plinky plonkied away for half an hour. And about halfway through, he's got, seriously, any requests? Just come on up.
But he's not getting requests for music. Yous are fucked.
Yeah, and we're sitting at the side going,
Yeah,
"Fuck's
household
sake,
item. No.
Jesus Christ." And then the announcement comes on going, all right, we're going to have the comedy on now. So we're going to shut the bar while this is on. Everybody move and sit in the circle around the dance floor. We'll watch the comedy. And it's like, oh, God, no, don't make the move. And they all got, right, the free bar will not be coming back at all until you've watched the comedy. And we're like, oh, Jesus. We did our time. We did our 25 minutes to silence.
I think that maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like doing improv in that environment would still be better than doing stand-up.
Absolutely.
Oh, it could
Although
well
they
be. At
probably
least
don't
there
know
were
about the
two of us.
alphabet.
Yeah.
There were two of us to deflect it. There were some
Yeah.
precious moments I wasn't talking, and he bore the brunt of the hatred.
Because the horrible part about those gigs is when you're on your own, and you're at least then.
At least you've
Yeah.
got a framework on it, and you're playing games kind of thing. Whereas we're
Yeah.
just there talking. It's just a person talking, and it's fucking murder.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's no joy in it. That's when you look back on nights like a Red Raw or something like that and go, that was the promised land.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I think that probably wraps us up. I think we're run out of time here. But Stu, thank you so much for joining
It's my
us.
absolute pleasure. It's good to see you both again.
And
Thank
we'll
you for
hopefully
having
get
me.
you in the studio in Glasgow at some point.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's been great to fit you in today. Before we go, guys, have you just got anything to plug? And we're both doing Edinburgh Festival, is that correct?
I'm doing the Edinburgh Festival. I've got the Spontaneous Potter Show, Little Earthquakes, my solo show.
Where are you this year, Stu?
I'm at the Tron,
Great.
just with Monkey Barrel for that.
Yeah.
The to be decided for the Spontaneous Potter Show. I believe I'm doing Improv All Stars with Ian Coppinger and Frankenstein's. If that's still on the cards, I think it is. And I have my own podcast, which we're doing live.
With
one
Joe
show
Heenan?
of, with the wonderful Joe
Here's
Heenan,
another
Stuart
person we
Joe's
need to get on the pod.
Big Dumb Film Show. That's
Yeah.
going on the 11th, I think, at the Stand Comedy Club in the middle of the festival. Our first ever live performance.
Beautiful.
It's great because I was passing by the other day, the Playhouse Theatre, where they've got the podcast featuring Susie McCabe, Christopher MacArthur Boyd,
All right, I've never heard of that one.
Frankie
Yeah.
Boyle.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
And
I
they're
can't say
selling
I know
out-
anything about that.
They're
yeah.
selling out the Playhouse
Must be a pretty
Theatre.
small venue.
We'll be at the stand for one night only.
Yeah. Is that and the Playhouse? Is that a pay what you want?
Yes, pay what you want. There's,
Is that
I'll be
what
up
Stepstones
front
used to
with
be?
a
Is that what
bucket.
that is?
I'll be out with a bucket and a purloined
You need
Macmillan
a
cancer
bucket,
vest.
Yeah.
vomit and juice and all.
Suck my balls. How about that?
Suck my balls and pay me money.
I'm doing a new show at Monkey Barrel.
What's
at
your show
6
called,
o'clock.
Liam?
It's called Big Strong Boy.
Yes, you are.
Show's been going well. Preview's been fun. It's gonna be a good year. I think vintage year for Scottish comedy.
Yes.
Incoming, I think. Lots of people who had breaks last year are back. Myself and Stu, the aforementioned Christopher MacArthur Boyd, Stephen Buchanan, who took a year off, and of course you and Stu are back year on year. So
We've got
hell
such
yeah,
a strong scene up here, man.
we're crushing it.
We're for year after year, 4 years. You know what?
Do you know
That's
what I
what I've
think?
noticed
Do you
since
know
all
what I
those
think
years
it
ago.
is? I think
got
it's all
bigger
the
and better.
the English people
All
that
the
have
English
killed.
guys come here raising the fucking bar for everybody else.
Usually drop the occasional adverb and watch them lose their minds.
Let's not get any adverbs. Let's not get political. All right.
This is a Catholic house.
Right, listen, Stu, thanks so much.
Thank
Guys,
you.
thanks for tuning in as ever. And obviously, as usual, please remember to like and subscribe, all the rest of it. And we'll speak to you very soon.